So let's start from your time in the Korean War. What was your job? What kind of ship were you on, and what were you doing?
Okay, it was an aircraft carrier. The first job that we did was basically get over to Japan, pick up an ASW squadron who flew the, you wouldn't be knowing anything about them, but they flew the heaviest propeller-driven plane, an AF Guardian. They went at about, what was it, 26,000 pounds. And it was an ASW unit. We had a full two-star admiral on board, and we did our ASW all the way from, we picked the admiral up in Kobe, and the aircraft came on the next day. And we went from there down to Okinawa, and then up from Okinawa back and forth out of Yokosuka, Japan. And then we went to Okadati on the northern island of Japan. And this, I think, was to throw off the North Korean enemy, because we stopped there and was the first carrier to stop there since World War II. And after we left that, we went and joined Task Force 77, which was off the east coast of Japan, while sort of indicating that we were going to invade on the east coast. Of course, we had invaded on the west coast.
So this is 1952, 1950?
1952. It was about, I wish I could remember the date. It was fairly late, I'd say something on the order of September, probably the middle of September.
And what was...
And then after that, what we did was the ASW aircraft flew off, and we picked up Marines, and the Marines flew on board. We went into Sasebo, refueled, and got ready to go work off the west coast of Korea. So that was, I don't know how many trips we made. It seems like 6 or 7. I've got the dates, but and we did that over. I know we were back in Sasebo before Christmas of 1952, because we had a tour, and we were throwing a big party for the orphans out, the Japanese orphans that were in Sasebo. And then we sailed again on the 15th. I think the last time was about the early February, about the 6th of February.
What else do you remember about the Korean War?
Not much, other than the fact that I know the Marines lost 2 of their people. They were commemorated in the cruise book. One was a first lieutenant, John Gorey, and the other one was a major by the name of Roger Reitmeyer, I think. Reitmeyer, yeah. Most of them reserve officers, but had been flying a long time.
After the Korean War, you rose the ranks quite a bit. But before Vietnam, what were you doing?
What was I doing before Vietnam? I spent 3 years on the carrier, and from that point, it was really great because I had basically 4 more commanding officers, all of whom made admiral after this. And I, of course, was a due course officer. I got promoted in 18 months, I think, the first time. So I made it Lieutenant JG, which made a nice income increase. And I got into different jobs. My job on the carrier started off in communications. So the time I also was the officer in charge of our signal bridge. So the enlisted men could semaphore and flashing light messages and send messages by flag up there, and I had a great view of the flight deck, of course. And then after that, the ship got an overhaul. After the overhaul, I got to be on the bridge a lot more as I started off as a junior officer of the deck. And about after the overhaul, we had enough operations that they could make me a regular officer of the deck. So I was in charge of the group that was handling the ship.
Tell us about your service in Vietnam.
Pardon?
Tell us about your time in Vietnam.
Ah,
Let's start from the beginning.
okay. Start from the beginning. I was flew into Hong Kong, I think, and 3 days later I relieved the commanding officer, and two days after that I was with the Hornet, who the ship had been with before, and we left Hong Kong, went down to Yankee Station, and they started flying missions to attack.
Can you provide more context for the viewers? When was this? What rank were you? What was your job?
Okay. You have leaped from an ensign, which is an 01, to a commander, which was an 05. So I jumped five commands. Getting there, I'd also been a gunnery officer on another destroyer. I'd been the executive officer, and for one of our pickets, a commanding officer of a DER out of Pearl and out of San Francisco. And then I had another DER that I picked up in New Zealand, and down for the Operation Deep Freeze support. We'd go out to be the weather ship for the aircraft coming down. Obviously we didn't have satellites at that time, so they pretty much relied on the weather reports that we were sending in on whether they could find the flights on down to Antarctica. From Antarctica, I got to sail back to the west and visited Australia and other places, going through the Suez Canal, through the Mediterranean up to Oslo and up north of Iceland, and then back to Newport, Rhode Island, which was the home port. That home port got changed to Key West, Florida, so I was also an anti-submarine warfare ship, training ship down there. Then from there, after a long while, went back to New Zealand for another shot at the deep freeze support. Got relieved down there and went back to Washington to work in various places.
And at this point, what time frame would this be at where we are right now?
Where we are now, we're about in the 65 to about 70. And then I worked in, because of, let's say, the amount of ammunition that we were expending on shooting up Vietnam was incredible. And I worked in the offices of the Chief of Naval Operation at that time, tracking those. I got to brief the Secretary of the Navy about how much we were spending, and lucked out, got assigned to a very great destroyer, the Haven. And that was in 70.
And that was a ship you were going to command?
That's the ship I was going to command.
Tell us about commanding a ship.
It's different. You have, oh Lord in heaven, about 290 men, more or less, sometimes more, sometimes less. They're all responsible to you to do their job, and you're responsible to them to keep them safe as you possibly can going to the places that you're going. It was, for me, it was very rewarding. I had a great time.
Well, what was Vietnam like when you first got there?
When I first got there, we were plane guarding most of the time. From plane guarding, then we went down the coast, and what we were doing was providing gunfire support all along the coast to mostly our Army people. And then we'd get a break, go into sometimes a neat port, like, Hong Kong is probably the neatest one. And we were the station ship, and there all we were doing was providing radio support to the American embassy, basically. But then left there and went back to escorting carriers to plane guard duty, and back down the coast, shooting up as we went.
What are some combat instances you had in Vietnam?
Where is combat? Nobody ever shot at us.
Well, you were shooting at them.
But we were shooting at them. Oh, we had a much better range than they did, and the one time I was escorting a cruiser, and we got the fire control radar picked up from the shore, and went up, and I pulled alongside of him to take the first hit, or at least get in the way of the missiles. And he said, "Hank, get back there. I got him covered."
And did they fire at that point?
They did not. They just let him off and then shut him down again. We were very fortunate.
Tell us more about your time in Vietnam.
That was about it. We go into port generally to um, pick up people and drop them off, but most of the time was underway replenishment. We'd be out for 2-3 weeks at a time, sometimes more, and they had what I'd call a cycle of replenishment ships going by to keep us refilled and rearm, give us more bullets to shoot.
What are some other places you went throughout your career?
Well, I would say for the combat missions, we're Westpac. For the Antarctic support was the most interesting one because that basically you took the ship and we went around the world. We went down from our home port to Dunedin, New Zealand, and worked basically out of Dunedin, New Zealand for about 6 months at a time.
What was Antarctica like?
Cold, beautiful, foggy, stormy. It could be, you could have 60-mile-an-hour winds, which meant that the waves were going to become rather excessive. But the DERs were well built for really bad weather. They were designed for ASW work and anti-submarine warfare work in the North Atlantic, so they were pretty darn stable.
What are some other things about your naval career you'd like to share?
Say again?
What are some other things about your naval career that you'd like to share that we haven't talked about yet?
Oh boy. I'd say I need to share how great the crews have been. I don't think the enlisted men get the honor or recognition that they should have. They're down there, particularly. I've been on every base on every ship. We get to. You do an inspection if you're really lucky, you can get it done every week. You split the ship into 3 sections, and an officer goes through, and it's a very thorough inspection to see how clean the space is, whether everything is working in it, and the rest of it. That's one side. The other side is you get down, because I've washed the ship's crew clothing in the washing machine, because I know I like to figure out how everything works and how it's done. I've been trained to be a mount captain. In fact, I was a mount captain when I was a midshipman on the training cruise, and fired there. It's the crews that really make the ships. The captains kind of get to ride along and enjoy the glory